So why did you make us pack for 2 weeks? Asked George as we were walking over to the bean. Because we are not returning to Robbinsog for 2 weeks, I answered to George. What? Sam and George shouted. I got you both grounded because I called the cops yesterday and our parents didn't dress as royalty because of it because they weren't expecting visitors. So to teach me a lesson, they want to upset you because they want my behavior to get under control, and punishing you because of what I did is how they want to do it, I said. If we stay away from Mommy and Daddy for 2 weeks to avoid being grounded, we will have to serve an even bigger punishment when we get back, George said. Plus we have no money or food. How are we going to be able to live for those 2 weeks? Sam said / asked. Watch and learn, I said. We then arrived at the bean. I'll be back in a little bit. I have some food for us to catch, I said to Sam and George. How do you know if you'll be okay? Sam asked. You have your phone on you. Assume I am dead if I am not back in 2 hours, I said. I then went over to the beach on Lake Michigan and changed into my swimsuit and then swam out about a quarter of a mile from the shore. By then there were fish swimming about in the lake. All it took was a big clap on the head and they were dead. I then carried them back to the shore, which is a very useful trait for me to have and can do it well. I then went to change back into my regular clothes and then I went back to the bean. That was quick, said Sam. Here was breakfast today. I know it's not breakfast food, but it's gonna do. How many did you get? George asked. 3. 3 today. 1 for each meal of the day, I said. What kind is this? Sam asked. I think it's cod, I answered. What if I don't want to eat it? George asked. Then you're grounded. Not as punishment, but because you're going to need to go home, I said. Okay. I then used a sharp stone on the ground to cut the fish into 3 pieces, and we pretty much ate it raw. We are gonna have to... What are we gonna do with the other 2 fish? Because if we put them in our bags, it will stink up anything. Sam asked. I packed a plastic bag back when we were in Robbinsog, I said to Sam. Okay, said Sam, feeling relieved because of the convenience. I then took the bag out and loaded the fish in, and that was that. What time is it? George asked. About 8, I answered. I'm ready to get a move on, said George. Okay, I can see Washington and Wabash from here. We can go there and board a train to go somewhere to hide, I said. We then walked to Washington and Wabash and scanned ourselves in. Hold on for a second. Is this where we board the trains to Howard? George asked. Yes, if Purple Line trains are running. That only runs during rush hour, and since today is the weekend, it is not running, I explained to George. Oh well, can we go to Howard? George asked. Is this just so you can meet Hannah? Sam asked George. Yeah, George answered. Not today. Her parents run a bar, and today is expected to be a busy day for them, I explained to George. Then because of that, let's go. We are going to ride the Green Line for no reason, George demanded. I was saying before Sam interrupted me. That's fine, said Sam. Where would you like to head towards? Eastbound toward Harlem Lake? Or, well, really westbound toward Harlem Lake? Or southbound to Ashland 63rd or Cottage Grove? Well, westbound because that one end makes me less confused, said George. Do you want to go, or do you want to ride all the way to Harlem Lake? Sam asked. No, just because I don't want to get confused about the train we are going on, George answered. Sam then shrugged, and then we went to the airport. Can I put my hood? Then we went into the train. Can wait, can I put my hood down now? Asked George when we got to the platform. Sure. Sure, because we are on the platform specifically for the Green Line, I said to George. George then took his hood down. We really see, George, we're really on the Green Line or do activities involving the color green. So it was nice seeing George with his hood down. His body was covered completely by the green cloak. And when he looked at me and smiled, it warmed my heart. And I could tell it warmed Sam's too when he looked at Sam. He looked so much like our mom, which unfortunately makes me really sad because it reminds me of the days back when she still gave a shit about us. 3 minutes later, the Green Line train toward Harlem Lake pulled in and we boarded it. It wasn't busy at all, but there were a few people on it. We'll just be on here until we feel like we come across a good place to stop or Harlem Lake, sir, I said to Sam and George. Agreed, said Sam and George at the same time. About 15 minutes later, we passed the Green Line Kedzie station, and then I get a phone call. Hello, I asked through the phone. Did you kidnap your brothers? My mom asked through the phone, very upset. Yes, I did. We'll be back in 2 weeks and we are no longer grounded. And before you come after us, how about you don't? Because I'm going to take care of Sam and George myself. And we will be hiding somewhere you won't ever be able to find us. And you will get a break from taking care of me, who you think is an asshole. And you can do that time to do two different things. Work and having sex with Dad. I then hung up. Now everyone in our car is staring at me for what I just said to my mother. Dr. M, maybe we should leave the car and get off at the next station, Sam whispered into my ear. Everyone in my car was staring at me and still had a look of disgust on their face. Yeah, you're probably right, Sam whispered into George's ear while we were getting off here. It was about 30 seconds before we pulled into the next station. How about we just get off here, said George when we were arriving at the next station. We then left the train. Did anyone catch the name of the station through the speaker on the train? This is Conservatory / Central Park Drive, said Sam. Okay, I said, feeling confused because I hadn't been off the station before. Where should we go? George asked. Let's just go to the next stairwell and walk it down and see what we see. We then walked to the stairwell and then we went down them and ended up on the street like we were in a city park. I didn't notice the glass building about 200 feet in front of us. What is that building? Asked George as he was putting his hood back up since we were off the Green Line train. I don't know, I answered. George, we don't know what's around here, Sam said. Okay, can we go toward that glass building? George asked. Yes, I said. We then crossed over whatever street we were on and walked up to the front doors of the building, which were made out of cement. Apparently, it is Garfield Park Conservatory, I said. It doesn't open until 9, said Sam. What time is it now? 8:20, Sam said. Let's walk around here and then maybe we will go inside. We then began to walk around the outside of the building and then George saw something that stopped us dead in our tracks. Without warning, George made a 90-degree turn and took off running toward the conservatory. What is wrong with you? I asked when I caught up to George, and I couldn't tell if I meant it seriously or sarcastically. That, said George, pointing up at the upper windows of the glass building. I looked up and saw ceiling fans in the building, which I know George loves. Well, Sam, I think we are stopping here today. George then took off like lightning toward the front, and we followed, and a few seconds later, at the same speed. You need to stay where I can see you, I said to George. George didn't listen. He was just jumping up and down, feeling excited about what's going on inside. Going inside the Garfield Park Conservatory. It's gonna be a long half hour, I muttered to myself in a quiet tone.